Captain Zara Vex pressed her four-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of her cargo ship, feeling the vibrations of the dying engines. The whispered dawn had served her well for 15 cycles, but even Catharian engineering had its limits. She needed credits, and she needed them fast. The salvage beacon had appeared on her scanner 3 hours ago, broadcasting from a derelict vessel drifting near the outer rim. Most captains avoided the area. Too many ships went missing out there, swallowed by the void or worse. But Zara wasn't most captains. Her pale blue skin bore the ritual scars of a military veteran, and her large, dark eyes had seen enough death to make her fearless about most things. The derelict ship was massive, clearly human in design. Zara had seen their vessels before, though encounters with the mysterious species were rare. Humans had appeared in galactic space only 50 cycles ago, claiming to come from a distant arm of the galaxy. They kept to themselves mostly, establishing a few trade outposts but rarely venturing far from their territory. As the whispered dawn docked with the human vessel, Zara's scanner showed no life signs. The ship appeared to be a research vessel, its hull scarred with what looked like weapon burns. Pirates, probably. The galaxy was full of scavengers who preyed on isolated ships. Zara sealed her environmental suit and stepped through the airlock. The human ship's gravity was heavier than what her species preferred, but manageable. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows down the corridors as she made her way deeper into the vessel. The first few compartments yielded little of value. Some alien technology she couldn't identify, personal belongings that might fetch a few credits at the right market. Then she found the medical bay. A single figure lay on one of the examination tables, connected to what appeared to be a life support system. The readouts were in human script, but the steady beeping suggested the machine was still functioning. Zara approached cautiously, her hand resting on the plasma cutter at her belt. The creature on the table was clearly human, though smaller than the few she had encountered before. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, and its breathing was shallow. Dark hair framed a face that looked young, even by human standards. Most striking were the bandages wrapped around its torso, stained with dried blood. Zara checked her scanner again. One life sign, weak but stable. The ethical thing to do would be to contact the nearest human outpost and arrange a transfer. But the nearest human territory was 3 weeks away, and her ship wouldn't last that long. Besides, there might be a reward for returning a human safely. She studied the life support system, trying to understand its functions. The power reading showed it was running on emergency reserves, maybe 6 hours left at most. If she was going to save this human, she needed to act quickly. The transfer to her own medical bay took an hour. Zara's equipment wasn't designed for human physiology, but life support was life support. She managed to adapt her systems to provide the right atmospheric mixture and maintain the creature's vital signs. As she worked, she found herself studying the human more closely. Its features were oddly symmetrical, lacking the natural asymmetry that marked most intelligent species. The bone structure seemed impossibly fragile, as if evolution had prioritized something other than durability. Yet there was something about the way it held itself, even unconscious, that suggested hidden strength. The medical scanner revealed extensive internal injuries, but nothing immediately fatal. Whoever had attacked the research vessel had left this human for dead, but humans, Zara was learning, were harder to kill than they appeared. She spent the next 2 days nursing the creature back to consciousness. During that time, she learned more about human physiology than she had ever wanted to know. Their healing rate was remarkable, far faster than any species she knew. The injuries that should have kept the human bedridden for weeks were already showing signs of improvement. When the human finally opened its eyes, Zara was surprised by their color. Most species had eyes adapted to their home star's spectrum, but human eyes were a clear blue that seemed to capture light in unexpected ways. "Where am I?" the human asked, its voice hoarse but surprisingly melodic. Zara's universal translator handled the language easily enough. "Safe," Zara replied, staying at what she hoped was a non-threatening distance. "I found you on a derelict ship. You were badly injured." The human tried to sit up, winced, and lay back down. "The others?" "I'm sorry. You were the only survivor." Pain flashed across the human's features, deeper than physical hurt. Zara had seen enough death to recognize grief, but there was something else in the human's expression. Determination, maybe, or anger. "I'm Zara," she offered, "captain of this vessel. Emma, the human replied. Dr. Emma Chen, We were studying star formation patterns in the outer rim. What attacked your ship? Emma's jaw tightened. Pirates. They wanted our research data when we wouldn't give it to them. She gestured weakly at her bandages. Zara nodded. The galaxy was full of predators who saw knowledge as just another commodity to steal. But something about Emma's story didn't quite fit. Research data was valuable but not usually worth killing for, unless the research involved something more than star formation. Over the following days, as Emma recovered, Zara found herself drawn into conversations with the human. Emma was intelligent, curious about Catharian culture, and surprisingly knowledgeable about galactic politics. She also had an odd way of looking at problems that Zara had never encountered before. When the Whispered Dawn's navigation system started failing, Emma asked to look at it. Within hours, she had identified a solution that Zara's engineers had missed for months. When food supplies ran low, Emma suggested modifications to the recycling system that increased efficiency by 30%. How do you do that? Zara asked after Emma had somehow fixed a persistent problem with the artificial gravity generator. Emma shrugged. A gesture Zara was learning meant both confusion and modesty. I just think about it differently, I guess. Look at the whole system instead of individual parts. It was a simple answer, but it made Zara wonder if there was more to humans than anyone realized. In the 3 weeks it took to reach the nearest station, Emma had improved nearly every system on the ship. Not through advanced technology or superior knowledge, but through a way of thinking that seemed uniquely human. As they approached the station, Zara found herself reluctant to let Emma go. The human had become more than just a passenger. She had become something Zara hadn't expected to find in the cold depths of space. A friend. The Nexus station orbited a dying red star, its massive structure housing representatives from dozens of species. Zara had docked here many times over the years, but walking through the corridors with Emma beside her felt different. The human drew stares wherever they went, though whether from curiosity or suspicion, Zara couldn't tell. Emma seemed fascinated by everything around her. She stopped to watch Vorthan traders negotiating in their complex clicking language, studied the bioluminescent patterns of a Luxari diplomat, and asked endless questions about species Zara had never bothered to learn about. Your galaxy is so diverse, Emma said, as they made their way to the administration office. Back home, we always wondered what we'd find out here. This isn't even a tenth of it, Zara replied. There are species in the core worlds that would seem like magic to most of us. At the human consulate, a small office tucked away in one of the station's lower levels, they met with Consul Harris, a middle-aged human with gray hair and tired eyes. He listened to Emma's story with growing concern. Dr. Chen, we've been looking for your team for weeks, he said. The research vessel Aurora disappeared without a trace. The families have been demanding answers. Emma's shoulders sagged. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more about what happened to them. Consul Harris turned to Zara. Captain Vex, humanity owes you a debt. If there's anything we can do to repay your kindness. Zara was about to politely decline when Emma spoke up. Actually, there is something. She looked at Zara with those unsettling blue eyes. I'd like to stay aboard the Whispered Dawn. Both Zara and the consul stared at her. Dr. Chen, Harris said carefully, you've been through a trauma. Perhaps you should return home for proper medical attention and psychological evaluation. I'm fine, Emma insisted. And I'm not ready to go home yet. There's so much to learn out here, so much to see. Captain Vex saved my life. The least I can do is help her with her ship. Zara felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. Emma, you don't owe me anything. You've already helped more than enough. It's not about owing, Emma said. I want to stay, if you'll have me. The paperwork took 3 hours to complete. Human bureaucracy, Zara discovered, was even more complicated than Catharian military regulations. But eventually, Emma was officially assigned as a technical consultant aboard the Whispered Dawn, with regular check-ins required at human outposts. Their first job after leaving the station was a simple cargo run to the Meridian system. Nothing dangerous, just transporting mining equipment to a new colony. It should have been routine, but Emma's presence changed everything. Within days of departure, word had somehow spread that Zara was traveling with a human. At their first port of call, the docking bay was crowded with curious aliens wanting to meet Emma. She handled the attention with grace, answering questions and seeming genuinely interested in learning about each species she encountered. A Thrakari merchant named Gix approached them while they were loading cargo. His insectoid features made his expressions difficult to read, but his posture suggested excitement. "Captain Vex," Gix buzzed. "I hear you have human aboard. Is true?" "This is Dr. Emma Chen," Zara said, gesturing to Emma. Gix's compound eyes focused on Emma with intense interest. "Human, I have problem. Complex problem. Maybe human can help where others cannot." Emma tilted her head. "What kind of problem?" Gix explained his situation through rapid clicks and buzzes. His mining operation on a nearby moon was failing because the equipment kept breaking down in unexpected ways. He'd hired the best engineers money could buy, but they all claimed the problems were unsolvable. Emma asked to see the technical specifications. Within an hour, she had identified the issue. The mining equipment was designed for planets with stable magnetic fields, but the moon's field fluctuated wildly due to interference from the nearby gas giant. The engineers had been treating each breakdown as a separate problem instead of recognizing the pattern. "You need to shield the sensitive components," Emma explained, sketching a simple diagram, "and recalibrate the sensors to account for the magnetic variations. The solution isn't complex, but it requires thinking about the environment as a whole system." Gix was so grateful he paid them triple the usual rate for the consultation. As word spread about Emma's problem-solving abilities, more requests came in. A Khazari transport captain whose cargo kept spoiling despite functioning refrigeration, a Velen engineer whose fusion reactor was producing inconsistent power output, a hegemony patrol ship with navigation errors that happened only in certain star systems. Each problem seemed unsolvable to experts in their fields, but Emma found solutions by looking at the bigger picture. She didn't have more advanced technology or superior knowledge. She just thought about things differently. "How do you do it?" Zara asked one evening as they sat in the ship's common area, sharing a meal. Emma had just solved a problem with their own hyperspace drive that had been plaguing them for months. Emma considered the question while chewing a bite of synthesized protein. "I think it's because humans evolved as generalists," she said finally. "Most species seem to have developed specialized thinking patterns suited to their environments. But Earth was chaotic. Changing climates, competing ecosystems, constant adaptation required." She gestured at the star chart displayed on the wall screen. "When I look at a problem, I don't just see the technical aspects. I see connections, patterns, relationships between things that might not seem related. It's not better or worse than specialized thinking, just different." Zara studied Emma's face in the soft light of the common area. The human had been aboard for 3 months now, and the changes to both the ship and Zara's life were remarkable. The whispered dawn ran smoother than it ever had. Their reputation was growing, with clients specifically requesting the human problem solver, and Zara found herself looking forward to their conversations in a way she hadn't experienced since her military days. "There's something else," Emma said, her voice quieter. "Being out here, seeing all these different species and cultures, it's changing how I think about humanity's place in the galaxy." "How so?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Back home, there's debate about how much we should integrate with galactic civilization. Some people want to stay isolated, keep to our own territory. They're afraid of losing what makes us human." She gestured toward the viewport where stars streamed past in hyperspace. "But being out here, I'm starting to think that's exactly backward. What makes us human isn't something we need to protect from outside influence. It's something we can share, something that can help others." Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. "Emma, what kind of research were you really doing on that ship?" Emma met her eyes, and Zara saw something there she hadn't noticed before. Determination mixed with something that might have been fear. "We weren't just studying star formation," Emma said softly. "We were mapping hyperspace routes, finding new ways to connect distant parts of the galaxy. The pirates didn't want our data to steal it. They wanted to destroy it." The implications hit Zara like a plasma blast. "Someone doesn't want humans expanding their influence." Emma nodded. "And now they know I survived?" The attack came 3 days later, while they were refueling at a remote station in the Kronos sector. Zara was reviewing cargo manifests when the station's proximity alarm screamed through the ship's communication system. "Unknown vessels approaching," the station's automated voice announced. "All ships prepare for emergency departure." Zara rushed to the bridge where Emma was already manning the sensor station. The human's face was pale but focused as she studied the incoming ships. 4 vessels, Emma reported. Configuration matches hegemony raiders, but they're flying without identification codes. Zara's blood ran cold. The Hegemony Collective was one of the galaxy's major powers, but they typically operated within legal boundaries. Raiders flying their ships without authorization meant someone with serious connections was involved. "Can we run?" Emma asked. Zara checked their fuel levels and cursed. "We need another 10 minutes to complete refueling. In open space, those ships will catch us before we can jump to hyperspace." Through the viewport, they watched as the Raider ships surrounded the station. Other vessels were already fleeing, their captains unwilling to risk getting caught in whatever was about to happen. "Attention station personnel," a voice crackled through communications. "We are conducting a lawful search for a wanted criminal. Surrender the human Emma Chen, and no harm will come to anyone else." Emma and Zara exchanged glances. "They followed us here," Emma said quietly. "How is that possible? We've made 3 jumps since leaving Nexus Station." Emma's jaw tightened. "The same way they found our research ship. Someone is feeding them information." The station administrator's voice came over the comm, nervous but defiant. "This is Administrator Kell. You have no authority here. This station operates under neutral space agreements. Administrator Kell, you have 5 minutes to comply, or we will board your station and search it ourselves." Zara was already moving toward the weapons locker. "We need to get you off this station." "No," Emma said firmly. "If we run, they'll destroy the station looking for us. Innocent people will die. Emma, they want you specifically. This isn't your fault, isn't it?" Emma turned to face her, and Zara saw guilt in those blue eyes. "My research team is dead because of what we discovered. Now these people are in danger because I'm here. I'm tired of others paying the price for my survival." Before Zara could stop her, Emma activated the ship's communication system. "This is Dr. Emma Chen aboard the merchant vessel," whispered Dawn. "I'm the person you're looking for." "Dr. Chen," came the Raider leader's voice, suddenly warmer. "How convenient. Please report to Docking Bay 7 for transfer." "I'll come," Emma said. "But first I want to know who's behind this. Who wants me dead badly enough to hire hegemony raiders?" There was a pause. "That information is not relevant to your surrender." Emma smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Actually, it is. You see, before my research team was killed, we transmitted our findings to multiple locations. If something happens to me, that data becomes public. Very public." Zara stared at Emma in amazement. The human was bluffing with her life, but she sounded completely confident. "You're lying," the Raider leader said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "Am I? Tell your employer this. The Nexus route isn't just a faster way to travel. It's a game changer. It cuts travel time between the Outer Rim and core worlds by 70%. That's going to upset a lot of established trade routes, isn't it?" The communication channel went silent. Zara used the pause to bring up a tactical display of the station. "Emma, what are you doing?" "Buying us time," Emma whispered. "And maybe saving some lives." The Raider leader's voice returned, but now he sounded like he was consulting with someone else. "Dr. Chen, perhaps we can reach an arrangement. Come aboard our ship and we can discuss terms." "No, thank you," Emma replied. "If your employer wants to talk, they can meet me somewhere neutral. With witnesses. That is not acceptable." Emma's fingers flew across the control panel and suddenly the station's defensive systems came online. Zara watched in shock as Emma somehow gained access to military-grade shields and weapons that the station wasn't supposed to have. "Administrator Kell," Emma called over the comm. "You might want to explain to your guests that your station is better defended than it appears." Kell's voice came back, surprised but pleased. "Unknown vessels. This station is protected by Class 5 military shields and armed with quantum torpedoes. You are advised to withdraw immediately." The lead Raider ship fired a warning shot at the station's shields, which absorbed the blast without difficulty. Emma had somehow activated defensive systems that made the small trading post look like a military installation. "Impossible," the Raider leader muttered. "Intelligence said this was a civilian station." "Intelligence can be wrong," Emma said pleasantly. "Now, unless you want to explain to the hegemony why you lost 4 ships attacking a neutral station, I suggest you leave." Zara watched the sensor display as the Raider ships hesitated. They had come expecting an easy capture, not a military engagement. After several tense minutes, the ships began withdrawing. "This isn't over, Dr. Chen," the raider leader transmitted. "Our employer is very patient and has long reach." "I'm sure they do," Emma replied. "But patience works both ways." The raider ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving the station in peace. As the defensive systems powered down, Administrator Kell's voice filled with gratitude came over the comm. "Dr. Chen, I don't know how you activated our emergency systems, but you saved this station. Is there anything we can do to repay you?" Emma looked at Zara before answering. "Actually, there is. We need to send a message to human space. Priority transmission." 2 hours later, they were back in hyperspace, heading toward the core worlds. Emma had spent most of their time at the station sending encrypted messages to contacts Zara didn't know she had. "So," Zara said as they sat in the common area, "want to tell me how you turned a simple trading station into a fortress?" Emma smiled sheepishly. "Most stations in neutral space have military-grade defensive systems. They just keep them hidden to avoid looking threatening. I've spent months studying galactic infrastructure. You learn to see the patterns. And the bluff about transmitting your research data? Not entirely a bluff," Emma said. "We did send preliminary findings to several locations before the attack. But the full data was destroyed with our ship." Zara studied Emma's face. "There's more to this than just trade routes, isn't there?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. "The research we were doing, it wasn't just about finding faster ways to travel. We were studying the fundamental structure of hyperspace itself." She activated a holographic display showing a 3-dimensional map of local space. "Look at the pattern of inhabited systems. Most species expand in clusters, staying close to their home territories, but humans have been establishing outposts in seemingly random locations." Zara studied the map. Emma was right. Human settlements didn't follow the usual expansion patterns. "We weren't picking those locations randomly," Emma continued. "We were following hyperspace currents, natural flows in the fabric of space that allow for more efficient travel. The Nexus route is just the beginning. The implications were staggering. If humans could map these natural hyperspace currents, they could establish travel networks that would revolutionize galactic transportation and communication." "Someone realizes what this means," Zara said. Emma nodded. "If humans control the fastest routes between distant parts of the galaxy, we become essential to galactic commerce and communication. That threatens established powers who profit from the current system. So they want to stop you before you can share this knowledge. They want to eliminate anyone who understands the research," Emma corrected. "Which now includes you." Zara felt a chill, but also a strange sense of excitement. "Where are we going?" "To meet with some people who can help us stay alive long enough to make this information public," Emma said. "And to show the galaxy that humans aren't just another species looking for territory." She turned off the holographic display and looked at Zara with those intense blue eyes. "We're a species that can help others solve problems they didn't even know they had." The rendezvous point was an asteroid mining facility in the Cygnus Belt, operated by an independent collective of various species. Emma had chosen it because the complex gravitational fields made it difficult to approach undetected, and the miners were notoriously unfriendly to anyone who brought trouble to their operation. Zara guided the Whispered Dawn through the asteroid field, following navigation beacons that led to a massive hollowed-out rock. The mining station Deep Forge had been carved from a metallic asteroid over generations. Its interior expanded into a labyrinthine city that housed thousands of workers. "Your contact is here?" Zara asked as they docked. Emma nodded. "Dr. Kane Valeris. He's a Zarathi physicist who's been studying hyperspace theory for decades. If anyone can help us verify my research and get it to the right people, it's him." The Zarathi were known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and their complete inability to lie. If Valeris confirmed Emma's findings, no one could question their validity. They found Dr. Valeris in one of the station's research labs, a cramped space filled with holographic displays showing complex mathematical equations. The Zarathi was tall and thin, with pale, almost translucent skin and large dark eyes that seemed to absorb light. When he saw Emma, his face showed what might have been relief. "Dr. Chen," he said in the melodic tones typical of his species. "When I heard about the attack on your research vessel, I feared the worst. Dr. Valeris, this is Captain Zara Vex. She saved my life." Valeris turned his analytical gaze on Zara. "A Catharian military veteran by the scarring pattern. You have chosen your protector well, Dr. Chen. Emma wasted no time in explaining their situation. Valeris listened without interruption, occasionally making soft humming sounds that Zara recognized as signs of deep thought among his species. The implications are significant, Valeris finally said. If your hyperspace mapping is accurate, it would indeed threaten established economic structures. But more than that, it would fundamentally change how species interact with each other. He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's major trade routes. Currently, commerce flows along established hyperspace lanes that favor certain systems and species. The Hegemony Collective, the Vorthan Trade Federation, even the Luxari diplomatic network, all depend on controlling key junction points. Emma overlaid her research data on the display. Immediately, new pathways became visible, routes that could bypass traditional choke points and connect previously isolated regions. Remarkable, Valeris murmured. Your species' approach to pattern recognition is unlike anything I have encountered. These hyperspace currents have existed for millions of years, but no one has seen the larger pattern. Because everyone looks at space from the perspective of their own needs, Emma said. Humans evolved as explorers. We're naturally inclined to see connections across vast distances. Zara studied the new map with growing amazement. The implications went far beyond trade routes. Isolated species could suddenly become part of the galactic community. Remote colonies could receive supplies and communication in days instead of months. The entire structure of galactic civilization could change. This is why they want to stop you, she realized. Valeris nodded gravely. Change of this magnitude always creates resistance. There are those who profit greatly from the current system, but there are also those who would benefit from change, Emma said. We need to get this information to them before our enemies can suppress it. I have been in communication with colleagues across the galaxy, Valeris said. Many have reported unusual pressure from various governments and corporations to cease hyperspace research. Your work explains why. He manipulated the holographic controls and the display zoomed in on a particular region of space. There is a gathering in 3 days. The Galactic Science Consortium is holding its annual conference on Altair Prime. Every major species will have representatives there. Emma's eyes lit up. Perfect. If we can present the research there in front of witnesses from across the galaxy, no one can suppress it. Zara felt a cold certainty in her stomach. They'll never let us reach Altair Prime. The moment we file a flight plan, every raider and assassin in the galaxy will know where we're going. True, Valeris agreed. But perhaps there is another way. The Zarathi explained his plan over the next several hours. Instead of traveling directly to Altair Prime, they would split up. Valeris would carry copies of the research to the conference through official channels, protected by his status as a respected scientist. Emma and Zara would take a circuitous route, using the very hyperspace currents Emma had discovered to reach the conference ahead of anyone trying to follow them. It's risky, Valeris warned. Using uncharted hyperspace routes could be dangerous. You might encounter spatial anomalies or gravitational distortions that could destroy your ship. Emma smiled. That's exactly why no one will expect us to try it. They spent the next day preparing. Valeris worked with Emma to refine the hyperspace calculations, while Zara modified the ship's systems to handle the stress of unconventional jumps. The mining station's engineers, impressed by Emma's problem-solving reputation, volunteered their help upgrading the Whispered Dawn's shields and navigation systems. During a brief break, Zara found Emma standing at an observation deck, looking out at the asteroid field. The human seemed lost in thought, having second thoughts. Zara asked. Emma shook her head. Just thinking about how much has changed since you found me. A few months ago, I was just a researcher studying star formation. Now I'm potentially reshaping galactic civilization. Regrets? No, Emma said firmly. But I am scared. Not of dying necessarily, but of what happens if we fail. How many species will remain isolated? How many problems will go unsolved because the right minds can't connect with each other? Zara moved to stand beside her friend. You know, when I was in the military, we had a saying, the galaxy is vast, but no distance is too great for those willing to bridge it. Emma looked at her with surprise. I've never heard that saying, Zara smiled. Because I just made it up. But it sounds like something we should believe, doesn't it? The next morning, they said goodbye to Valeris and departed the mining station. Their first destination was a navigation beacon in an apparently empty system. one of the hyperspace current junction points Emma had identified. As the whispered dawn approached the beacon, Zara's instruments detected strange readings. Space itself seemed to shimmer around them, as if reality was somehow more flexible here. "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked as Emma made final calculations. "Not entirely," Emma admitted, "but that's what makes it exciting." She activated the modified hyperspace drive and reality twisted around them. Instead of the usual smooth transition to hyperspace, they felt as if they were surfing on currents of pure energy. The journey that should have taken 5 days was completed in 18 hours. They emerged from hyperspace in the Altair system, their ship intact, but their sensors showing readings unlike anything Zara had ever seen. They had traveled further and faster than should have been possible. "Welcome to the future of galactic travel," Emma said, but her smile faded as proximity alarms began sounding. 3 ships were already waiting for them, positioned between the whispered dawn and Altair Prime. The enemy had somehow known exactly where they would arrive. "Impossible," Zara muttered, studying the tactical display. The 3 ships blocking their path to Altair Prime were unlike any she'd seen before, sleek black vessels with no identifying marks, but their energy signatures suggested technology beyond what most species possessed. "They're not raiders this time," Emma observed, her voice tight with tension. "These are military vessels." The lead ship opened a communication channel. "Dr. Emma Chen, this is Commander Thex of the Obsidian Fleet. You will prepare to be boarded immediately." Emma and Zara exchanged glances. Neither had heard of the Obsidian Fleet, but the commander's tone suggested this was not a request. "Commander Thex," Emma replied. "We are peaceful travelers en route to a scientific conference. You have no authority to detain us." "Authority comes from necessity, Dr. Chen. Your research threatens galactic stability. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly." Emma's jaw tightened. "Define fairly." "You will be relocated to a comfortable facility where you can continue your research under proper supervision. Your findings will be released gradually, in a way that maintains economic stability." "You mean in a way that protects the interests of whoever is paying you?" Emma shot back. Zara was already running combat calculations. The Whispered Dawn was a cargo vessel, not a warship. Against 3 military ships, they had no chance in a direct fight. But Emma's modifications had given them something their enemies didn't expect: unprecedented maneuverability in hyperspace. "Emma," she said quietly,
"Can you calculate another jump using your currents?"
Emma's fingers flew across the navigation console. "Maybe, but jumping from this close to a planet is dangerous. The gravitational interference could tear us apart." "More dangerous than fighting 3 warships?" Emma's calculations painted a complex picture on the screen. The hyperspace currents around Altair Prime created a maze of possible routes, but most led to dead ends or dangerous spatial anomalies. "There," Emma pointed to one pathway. "It's risky, but it could take us directly to the conference center's orbital platform." "Dr. Chen," Commander Thex's voice cut through their planning. "You have 30 seconds to respond before we open fire." Emma activated the ship's communication system. "Commander, before you make a mistake you'll regret, let me ask you something. Do you know why humans have been so successful at solving problems other species can't?" "Your time is up, Dr. Chen. It's because we don't accept that something is impossible just because it's never been done before," Emma continued, her hands moving across the controls as she spoke. "We see connections that others miss, like the connection between your ship's energy signatures and Vorthon military contractors." There was a pause in the communication. Emma had clearly hit a nerve. "The Vorthon Trade Federation hired you," Emma pressed on. "They stand to lose the most if efficient hyperspace routes bypass their trade monopolies. But here's what they didn't tell you about humans, Commander. We're very good at improvisation." Emma slammed her hand down on the hyperspace activation control. Reality twisted around them as the Whispered Dawn plunged into the dangerous currents near Altair Prime. The ship groaned under stresses it wasn't designed to handle. But Emma's calculations held true. They emerged from hyperspace directly beside the Galactic Science Consortium's orbital conference platform, so close that automated docking systems immediately locked onto their ship. The 3 black vessels were nowhere to be seen. "Alert! Unscheduled arrival." The platform's traffic control system squawked. "Identify yourselves immediately." "This is Dr. Emma Chen requesting emergency docking," Emma replied. I have urgent scientific data to present to the consortium." Within minutes, they were surrounded by security vessels from a dozen different species. The conference platform operated under strict neutrality agreements, making it one of the few places in the galaxy where military action was absolutely forbidden. As they disembarked, they were met by Dr. Kelvin Ashworth, the human representative to the consortium. He was an older man with silver hair and the kind of measured demeanor that came from years of diplomatic service. "Dr. Chen," he said, relief evident in his voice, "we've been monitoring communications about attempts to suppress your research. Dr. Valeris arrived yesterday and briefed us on the situation." Emma looked around at the diverse group of scientists and diplomats gathering to greet them. "Is the data secure?" "Copies have been distributed to research institutions across the galaxy," Ashworth confirmed. "Your work can't be suppressed now." As they made their way to the main conference hall, Emma explained what they had discovered about the forces trying to stop them. Ashworth's expression grew increasingly grim. "The Vorthan Federation has been pressuring member species to restrict hyperspace research," he said. "They claim it's for safety reasons, but we suspected economic motives." The conference hall was packed with representatives from hundreds of species. When Emma took the stage to present her findings, the room fell silent. The holographic display showed the galaxy in a new light, with hyperspace currents creating previously invisible connections between distant worlds. "For too long," Emma began, "we've thought of space as empty distance to be crossed. But space has structure, currents, and flows that can carry us farther and faster than we ever imagined." As she explained the implications, Zara watched the faces in the audience. Some showed excitement, others concern, and a few displayed what looked like fear. Change always created winners and losers. A Vorthan delegate stood during the question period. "Dr. Chen, while your research is fascinating, have you considered the economic disruption these routes could cause? Established trade agreements, shipping contracts, entire economies could be destabilized." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Change is always disruptive, but isolation and inefficiency hurt more species than they help. The question isn't whether change will come, but whether we guide it wisely." She manipulated the holographic display to highlight remote regions of the galaxy. "There are species out there who have been cut off from galactic civilization for generations, simply because they're too far from established routes. Colonies that struggle to survive because supply runs take months. Research stations that could make breakthrough discoveries if they could share data more efficiently." The human looked directly at the Vorthan delegate. "Yes, some established interests will be disrupted. But how many new opportunities will be created? How many problems will be solved when the right minds can connect with each other?" Dr. Valeris took the stage next, presenting his analysis of Emma's work. As a Zarathi, his endorsement carried enormous weight. The mathematical proofs were undeniable. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Species after species weighed in on the implications of the hyperspace mapping. Some called for immediate implementation, others urged caution, and a few demanded that the research be restricted to prevent economic chaos. Finally, the consortium's president, an ancient Luxari named Bright Wind over Still Waters, called for order. "The knowledge exists," she said in her species' musical language. "It cannot be unknown. The question before us is how to use it wisely." A vote was called. By a narrow margin, the consortium voted to establish an open research initiative, with Emma's hyperspace mapping freely available to all species. Safeguards would be put in place to minimize economic disruption, but the knowledge would not be suppressed. As the delegates filed out of the hall, many stopped to speak with Emma personally. Scientists offered collaboration, diplomats discussed the political implications, and even some of the skeptics acknowledged the potential benefits. "You did it," Zara said as they finally had a moment alone. "You changed everything." Emma looked tired but satisfied. "We did it. I never could have gotten here without you." Through the conference hall's massive viewports, they could see ships arriving from across the galaxy. News of the hyperspace breakthrough was spreading faster than any attempt to contain it could follow. "So what happens now?" Zara asked. Emma smiled, the expression transforming her face. "Now we go exploring. There are currents out there that lead to parts of the galaxy no one has ever seen. Who knows what we'll find?" Zara felt a familiar excitement, the same feeling she'd had as a young officer facing her first deep space assignment. The Whispered Dawn could use a permanent navigator, and I could use a captain who's not afraid of the unknown. Emma replied. As they watched the galaxy's ships preparing to follow new paths through space, both women knew they had witnessed something unprecedented. Humanity hadn't just gained acceptance in galactic civilization, they had shown other species new ways to think about old problems. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months later, the Whispered Dawn emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Andromeda Reach, a region so remote that no galactic civilization had ever established permanent outposts there. Emma's hyperspace current maps had revealed a pathway that cut the journey time from 3 years to 3 weeks. Sensors are picking up artificial structures, Zara reported from the captain's chair. The bridge had been upgraded with new equipment, purchased with their consulting fees, but Zara still preferred the worn pilot's seat she'd occupied for years. Emma studied the readings from her science station. It's a space station, but the design is unlike anything in our databases. The energy signatures suggest it's been operational for centuries. As they approached, the alien station came into view. It was a massive structure, built from what appeared to be living coral that had somehow survived in the vacuum of space. Organic curves and flowing lines created a beauty that no artificial construction could match. We're being scanned, Zara noted, but it's not hostile. More like curious. A communication came through on frequencies they didn't recognize. Emma's universal translator worked for several seconds before producing comprehensible speech. Unknown travelers, you have found the reef of memory. We are the keepers. How did you cross the Great Dark so quickly? Emma looked at Zara, who nodded encouragement.
This is Dr. Emma Chen of the human research vessel Whispered Dawn. We used hyperspace currents to reach your location. Hyperspace currents, the voice repeated, musical tones suggesting wonder.
We have legends of such knowledge, but believed it lost forever. You are welcome here, travelers. Come, dock with us, and share your story. The docking bay they were guided to was clearly designed for ships much different from their own, but adaptive structures adjusted to accommodate the Whispered Dawn. As they disembarked, they were greeted by beings unlike any in the galactic databases. The keepers were tall and graceful, with skin that shifted between different shades of blue and green like living water. Their eyes were large and luminous, and they moved with fluid motions that seemed more like swimming than walking. I am Reef Song in Deep Current, their host said, the translator rendering the musical name approximately. I speak for the keepers of this place. Emma and Zara were led through corridors that seemed to have grown rather than been built. The walls pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns, and the air carried scents of ocean and growing things. Your station is remarkable, Emma said. The integration of organic and technological systems is beyond anything we've encountered. We are builders who learned from the void swimmers, Reef Song explained. Creatures who live between stars and shape space itself to their needs. But that is an old story. Tell us of these currents you ride. They spent hours explaining hyperspace theory and Emma's discoveries. The keepers listened with intense interest, occasionally conferring among themselves in their musical language. This knowledge changes much, Reef Song finally said. We have been isolated here for 800 cycles, believing ourselves cut off from the galaxy by impossible distances. Emma leaned forward. Why did you leave galactic civilization? We did not leave. We were forgotten. Reef Song's tone carried old sadness. Our world was destroyed by a cosmic disaster, a star that died suddenly. We escaped in ships like this one, but the journey to inhabited space would have taken lifetimes. Zara felt a chill.
How many of you are there?
Across this region? Perhaps 1 million souls, scattered among dozens of reef stations. We have survived, adapted, even thrived in our isolation, but we have been alone. Emma's eyes brightened with excitement. Not anymore. With the hyperspace routes, you could reach inhabited space in weeks instead of centuries, and others could reach us, Reef Song added. We have developed sciences and arts that the galaxy has never known. Our symbiosis with void swimmers, our living technologies, our understanding of space-time currents. Much to share. As they toured the station, Emma and Zara saw marvels that challenged everything they thought they knew about technology. Plants that grew in vacuum, converting cosmic radiation into food, living computers that processed information through quantum biological processes, art forms that existed in 4 dimensions, visible only to those who could perceive hyperspace directly. Your human perspective is unique, Reef Song told Emma, as they observed a group of young keepers learning to communicate with void swimmers. You see patterns and connections that we might have missed. How do you envision integrating our people with galactic civilization? Emma considered carefully. Gradually and by choice. Not every keeper community may want contact with the outside galaxy, but for those who do, the currents can provide safe passage. Over the following days, they worked together to map the hyperspace currents throughout the Andromeda Reach. The keepers' understanding of space-time from their void swimmer partners, combined with Emma's pattern recognition abilities and Zara's practical navigation experience, created maps more detailed than anything previously possible. This changes the fundamental structure of our galaxy, Emma realized as she studied the complete picture. These currents don't just connect known space, they reveal regions we never knew existed. Zara counted the newly discovered inhabited areas. Dozens of isolated civilizations, all accessible now, species that have been developing independently for millennia. The implications were staggering. The galaxy wasn't just a collection of known civilizations connected by slow travel routes. It was a vast community of diverse societies, many of whom had been unknowingly isolated by the limitations of conventional hyperspace travel. Each species will bring new perspectives, new solutions to old problems, Emma said. The collaboration possibilities are endless. Reef Song approached them with several other keepers. We have decided to send ambassadors to your galactic civilization, and we invite you to continue exploring the currents to find others who have been waiting in isolation. There's something else, another keeper added. The void swimmers speak of currents that lead beyond this galaxy entirely, pathways to the great spiral beyond the rim. Emma's breath caught. Other galaxies? Are you saying these currents could take us to Andromeda? To the Magellanic Clouds? We do not know. But the void swimmers remember traveling such distances in ages past. Perhaps with your human pattern sight and our symbiotic knowledge, such journeys could be possible again. As the whispered dawn prepared to depart the reef of memory, now accompanied by a small keeper vessel crewed by volunteers, Emma and Zara reflected on how much their lives had changed. When I found you on that derelict ship, Zara said, I thought I was just saving one person's life. Emma smiled. You did save one person's life, but that person happened to see patterns differently than most. Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. They watched as the keeper ship tested its first jump using the new hyperspace current maps. The organic vessel seemed to dance through space-time, its living components adapting to the flow of cosmic forces in ways that rigid technology never could. Where to next? Zara asked. Emma consulted the expanded maps, now showing currents that reached into previously unknown regions. There's a cluster of signals about 2 weeks away. Could be another isolated civilization or something we've never encountered before. Unknown possibilities, Zara mused. I'm starting to like the sound of that. As they entered hyperspace, following currents that led toward uncharted regions, both women knew they had become part of something larger than themselves. Humanity's gift for seeing new patterns hadn't just earned them a place in galactic civilization. It had revealed that the galaxy was far larger and more connected than anyone had imagined. Behind them, news of the Keeper's return was already spreading through established space, carried by the very hyperspace current networks that Emma had discovered. Species that had thought themselves alone were learning that isolation had been an illusion. That connection and collaboration were not just possible but inevitable. The galaxy was awakening to its own vast potential, one discovered current at a time. And somewhere in the flow of space-time itself, Emma and Zara continued their journey toward whatever wonders awaited in the unknown.